Got everybody here ready to roll. Practice day, again, we'll do a fair amount, some separate because you're in helmets only first 2 days, and 2 days of shoulder pads. Monday goes to a full padded practice. Tuesday's the first 2 a day. We basically have these couple days in 2 weeks. We'll transition to a week of school and game weeks. It kind of flows with a good preseason with on and off, plenty of time. We've got everybody here. You'll see in practice, and I'm not going to do anything today, and you can do whatever you want to, because some of you guys will get going with all your verbiages, but we've got a couple minor deals with some guys to be limited. You might see a guy or two in another spot you're not used to. I would not judge right now on who by any means is first team and second team. I think as coaches, you know your eval and summer academics, what you bring off the field, on the field. Now you got practice performance, and that's going to be a part of it. So there might be some subtle changes. You guys know I'm not overly that anal on too deep, but I know you need too deep. You know, Ohio State made a big deal with their quarterback thing. You know, we made a commitment last year where we have 2 quarterbacks for a spring period and then another quarterback for preseason, so we got glitched. That hurt you. So, but you always have backups. Remember last year we win 2 nice games with D'Angelo Roberts, and you've got this All-American guy that sell the records, but you're winning touchdowns in some critical games for our program was by backup. So we need a bunch of guys. It's our deepest team. So you can speculate, but, you know, we're expecting to play a lot of dudes. You might see some subtle changes, but it's nothing permanent now. It's competition. If you see some guys, the only issues we had health-wise was Jay Shum, who's out for the year, and Donovan Clark is still going to be very tender with his back, that it could get him into where I don't know if we're going to have his services this year. Everyone else, if someone's got a minor thing, it's a pull or something coming out of preseason where it's not major. So if you see a guy not doing a lot today, we'll address that Saturday, because I think after I see them a couple of days, I want to know, okay, it's worse than I thought, or it's not as bad as I thought. So we'll get there as we go. So ready to roll, ready to crank it up. Anything?
Any update on Camion Patrick?
You know, it's not final yet. So, and in our world, you know, he's here, he's going to be here, and what we do the first 2 weeks doesn't change the way we practice as far as the amount of reps, who gets what. As we get into that week prior to school starting, or the week of school starting, which is 2 weeks before the game, we get a little bit more game heavy right now. So there's just some things in process, and it's not official.
How do you see the safety position, given what happened with Antonio in terms of filling in? Who's going to handle that?
Yeah, we got right now. Well, it'd be interesting. I know I've got my thoughts as what I think. I think Coach Joseph and Coach Shelby have theirs, and so we'll see how it plays out. But I'm going to say, again, Chase Dutra is probably going to be at free. He was playing strong last year, and that's kind of the guy that kind of coordinates a lot. And I got a sense his savviness, and he was probably, if not our best defender, one of the best couple the last part of the season. Had a good off season. So Chase will be at free. Keontae and Tony Fields have played a lot, and then from there it's you know, Andre Brown's playing corner but big enough to be there. Right now we're starting Cooks, and we're starting Jonathan Crawford inside. Mario Swan, 215, was a scholarship kid at Eastern. He's an upper-level walk. I think he can get in the mix as 2 or 3 deep. So Ty Smith has had his, was honored yesterday as one of the best workout guys. So, you know, we're going to be 8 there. But I think you start out with guys that have played, the first 3 guys being Chase, Keontae, and Tony Fields. And then you figure out with the young freshmen or with the older guys with Mario and Ty, who's fighting for that 4th and 5th spot. And maybe they can go past Tony and Keontae. So we're going to have numbers. I think there's a lot of young talent. We'll see how it plays out.
Like Tyler Jaden, you guys start at corner, or at least look at him there?
I think his skill set's a little bit more rangy and cover-oriented. Even though he's a taller guy, I just think his body type translates into coverage a little bit more. And or if not, I guess he could be a little free, which is a little bit more center field sometimes. Although they don't play middle field defense all the time, you know. But I think he's starting outside as we start. That's our play. My thing with our coaches, and Pete's making a couple. I've just told these guys now for about 3 weeks. You've got to do as good as you can and get them right early, because it's wasted reps. You go from right guard to left guard. You go from field corner to boundary. You go from Sam to Will. It's still backer, but it's a different thought process. It's different vision. There's just a lot going on there. So I've put a little bit on the coaches to, you know, and you've got to adjust. Hey, we get an injury, or so-and-so is going to look better. He's better than I thought. He's not as good as I thought. You got to always adjust. But I've asked these guys, I mean, you know, you need to, it'd be a lot better for our advantage, as useful as we are back there, to hit right with 2 deep in reps, just from a developmental standpoint.
With Ralston unavailable right tackle, who all are you going to look at?
Demetrius played there a lot and has been pretty good and actually had one of our best summers. So he today will be the first one there with Timmy. Brandon Knight, for young guys, going to be in the mix. Even though we got a lot of guys back, been very impressed with Brandon and Simon Stepniak in particular. Feeney could always kick out there if we need to in a pinch. We love him at guard. So, I think the initial crowd today will be Jason and Wes Martin on the left side. When we recognize guys for doing a great job last night, it was nice to hear our strength coach talk about Jake Reed is a fifth-year senior, Wes Rogers, fourth-year guy, Jacob Bailey, fourth-year guy, Darius Rayner, fifth-year guys. You guys had great summers. And some of those guys didn't get the elite award, but when our fourth and fifth-year guys. So you've got all those core in the middle. And that being said, we can always have Demetrius at guard, which we had. And if Timmy's playing high, we're the best five get on the field. And Demetrius is an older guy, different than DBs. I think you can move a fourth-year guy spot around a little bit. But for Tyler Green and for John Crawford and Jamil Cook, you're going to be better if you can hit it right. And so Demetrius gives them some flexibility. Timmy's got some talent, but you're talking ability versus dependability. And sometimes you have a guy you can count on, maybe not as flashy. So that'll be an interesting competition there. We got some players there.
With Shane gone, Jason Hurd, what are you looking for in the return game? And do you have an idea, anybody that you want to keep in mind early in terms of looking at maybe that those guys can step in?
Well, again, it's a couple things now. Some of those smaller guys who catch it and are dynamic, at the same time, lack to me the size to go through an arm tackle a little bit. Because sometimes as you come through, there's that little, what we call trash, that sometimes a guy of substance who's not as flashy, like Dutra was actually a tremendous punt returner in high school. Kick return of the game I was at, a kick return, punt return, jet sweep for a touchdown. So some of those bigger guys will get in the mix. Cam Patrick is a tremendous returner. I know Isaac James was awfully good at it coming to high school. Devontae Williams was awfully good at it coming to high school, but I don't know how many times you like freshmen catching kicks. And years ago, we had to do that. That's a critical play. Anytime there's an exchange of kick, that's one of the bigger plays of a game, and turnovers are haunting, and a special team turnovers really hard to flip around in the course of a game. So there's some young skill guys. Mitchell Page has always been our most savvy, most consistent catcher. I don't know how dynamic you are on the post end, but we were talking the other day, had made a visit to a pro camp, and I even said to Coach, I said, the way we're kicking the ball and kicking out of end zone, you always, in my world, you got PAT field goal, but you really truly have four kick teams. The two cover teams punt kickoff, the two return teams punt return and kickoff return. You kind of go quarter, 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 quarter. It's really more of a 60-40, 65-35, because your cover teams are more critical than returns, because how many times you really catch the punt, fair catch the punt, or get the kickoff. So even though they're kicking it, about half of them are non-returnable. So there's a point where it's a little bit more, I think we'll be okay at return. Don't know if we got anybody overly dynamic, we'll see. But the real thing in our kicking is we got decent kickers, and it's going to be the cover units to me is where we can impact ourselves.